Good morning. It says I am live. So I'll assume that's the case. Ugh, my mustache is getting wild. I'm getting wild. How is everybody this morning? Good morning, Francisco. Miss Tina, is it cold and snowy up there? Carol, did you guys get snow the other day? Diana G, how's Canada? Carol, did you guys get snow the other day? Diana G, how's Canada? Carol, did you guys get snow the other day? Oops, I got an echo. Hang on. Thank you, Carol. I don't know if Francisco, I don't know if you and Tina heard me say good morning or not. I might have started too soon, but I'm here. And thank you, Carol. I'll say a little bit about that in a minute. It's beautiful here. I just outside. Oh, 75. Well, I guess you don't have snow then. Good morning, Mr. Uncas.
Good morning.
How are you, sir? I was sitting there talking and saying all kinds of things, see if you'd hear me, but apparently you was busy.
Well, I was heating up my coffee.
Oh,
I saw that Tina had coffee and knew how to use it, and she flung a craving on me.
Well, you're supposed to have coffee. This is all about coffee. Well, not all about coffee, but
I got it a little bit too warm, actually.
Put hair on your tongue.
Can you see those? This hand? There we go.
Yeah.
See those limbs blowing around?
Yeah.
Nasty old gray sky with snow flying.
You got snow on the ground this morning?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Ian. Didn't see you pop in, sir. Welcome. Had to turn my cup around. I saw a black rifle on your cup. I figured I needed to wave my banner there too. It is necessary if you're talking about coffee, Tina.
I don't mean to be advertising for them, but I like them.
Oh well. Black.
And I like them, and I love their coffee. So
okay. Well, Death Wish gets advertisement from me about every week. So.
Oh, we're gonna probably run into some darn YouTube banning zone just talking about coffee.
No, I learned my lesson. That won't happen again for a little while anyway. In case you weren't here last week, I got my knuckles got slapped on the back with a ruler, and I got jerked off the air and that video is probably still off the air. I got to go fix it. I hadn't done it yet. And but I think they only deemed me for the Barber of Seville. I don't even know how much of that I got to play. Maybe none. Maybe that's why it killed it. But good morning, Mike.
Carol, thank you. How did you get a hold of the Broken Circle? Oh, there we go. There's the culprit.
I sent some out to educators.
Thank you. I enjoyed doing the drawings for the book. So
tell them
there's little Easter eggs hiding in most of those drawings. If you're handy, you'll find some other cool stuff.
Oh, I need to get mine out and look again then, because the keep that thought, because in a bit I'm going to ask you to talk about that a minute. The story is of how you became the illustrators. I thought was pretty cool, kind of funny. Oh, is Ian not feeling well this morning? Or I don't even see what they say. Does that mean you're sick and at home? Only one working in my department and fighting the cold, so probably mostly ninja. Oh, okay. he's at work not feeling well. Shoot, I was hoping you were at home not feeling well, sipping coffee and, unlaxed.
Watching day 2 of the PBR team series.
Oh man, I ain't even started yet. I forgot that was on last night. Well,
I'm not gonna tell you nothing about it then.
that's okay. Well, let me just ask one question. Is it look like it's gonna be
It was worthy.
Okay. Since they were doing things differently, I just wondered how that did they have a good crowd?
There was some really good bull rides, so it was fun to watch.
Did they have a good crowd there in the
That darn place was completely full of human beings. I would have been freaking out.
Oh yeah, I bet.
I mean, it looked like it was packed to the rafters, and
that's T-Mobile Center or something, isn't it? I don't
know
who plays there unless it's the hockey. Maybe that's where their hockey team plays.
Yeah, and that's where the NFR is, and that's
no, the NFR is still at Thomas and Mack.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
They built this stadium. I think they built this as an arena for their hockey team or something, and PBR moved in there.
Well, they had
a hockey team, I think.
They put a bunch of dirt in there. I know that.
Yeah. And probably ice underneath still, but you never know. If it goes to thawing out, it'll all be just mud.
Well, that makes the bull riding extra special fun.
Mud?
No, yeah. Either mud or ice. Man, it is getting after it.
You have any on the ground from yesterday?
It's well below freezing, and it is howling.
How warm is it supposed to not get today?
I don't know. It's in the 20s right now, so.
Oh, brisk Wyoming morning.
Yeah, it's just a little fall zephyr going on out there. Wind's blowing about 40 miles an hour.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much normal. That's not right, is it, Ian? I mean, I'm not arguing with you. They're golden. Is it Golden Knights? I guess it is. I didn't think that's the skydiving team. I thought it
sounds like an Army skydiving team to me.
Well, they are, but maybe they are the Golden Knights. They do wear. I mean, their logo is like a helmet. Hey, buddy.
Tina's got a hound check going on.
Uh-oh. Come here. Get over here. Come over here with me. So get up here and say hi.
Brenda, unfortunately, I don't have a fire going. I got the heater on, but I don't have a fire going.
Say hi to everybody.
We have one fireplace that we put a fake fire in. That's a heater, and then we got an old timey Majestic wood stove in the kitchen, and I don't have it fired up. Bring the horses in.
Bring the horses in.
No thanks.
I don't think so.
They got 2 loafing sheds they can get in, and they usually just tuck up by the barn, but
yeah, they don't tend to even go inside, do they?
And they don't.
Buddy.
My 2 mares, you couldn't pay them enough money to make them go inside, even when it's 50 below zero. So they just don't.
They would want to.
They turn their backsides to the wind and just stand there, and they're fine. They look like Mongolian ponies now, anyway. So.
What, as in wooled up or just?
Yeah, they look like a Przewalski's horse. They're all
really
wooled up. Yeah, they do. I mean, that's if you baby your horses and put little blankets on them, and which they don't need, and put them in a barn, they don't grow winter hair.
Yeah, well, that's a good point.
And I like my horses to grow winter hair, so.
Well, it does have a certain appeal to it, I suppose. Do you have to curry them a lot in the spring, or do they just
Yeah, I mean, when they shed, they shed a lot more hair than a
Oh,
horse than a horse that's been babied, like I said. But
you can make horsehair pillows or something.
yeah,
Stuffed pillows. I'm sure
or
you could. I'm
or,
sure that primitive man used it for something.
or lacrosse balls, or something.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
handy.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Lacrosse balls, that'd work. You might be on to a whole new livelihood there, buddy.
And that's right, Brenda. My one mare's she's in foal.
That's what
So
I was saying. You need to take care of her. Of course, you want to keep her tough, I guess. She's gonna.
they're just as tough as when they don't have a foal.
Brenda doesn't want no horsehair pillow and no horsehair sweat. No horsehair sweater, Ian. I don't.
Well, my niece, my grandniece, she would, if I gave her a horsehair pillow, she'd swell up and
Oh no.
oh yeah, she's just terrible allergic.
Which one? Oh, which one is that?
So my nephew Philip, his daughter, she's one of the kids that wants to ride the most, and she's so allergic to them she can't
Oh,
even get Harley by. She can barely come out here to the place, and she starts, her eyes swell shut, and
heavens to Murgatroyd. Speaking of cartoons, heavens to Murgatroyd.
heavens to Murgatroyd.
Who said that?
I'm not remember. I've heard it, but I don't remember.
Oh man.
Come on, Tina.
Yeah, you're gonna to help me out.
You're the one that used the quote. So, heavens to Murgatroyd.
Is that Snaggletooth the cat? No, Donald Duck might have said that because I hear it with a lisp in my mind. Maybe maybe your niece can get a good time to get her allergy shots. Maybe she could.
No, Marvin the Martian.
No, Marvin. I forgot to get Marvin last week.
He talked about the plutonium Q-37 space modulator.
Earth was blocking his view. Earth was blocking his view to something.
He wanted. And what happened to the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
Tina says that was Snagglepuss. Okay, Snagglepuss it is. I buy that. Well, I think that's who I was talking about.
Heavens to Murgatroyd.
Ian confirmed.
Here we go. We're gonna get banned again.
No, we won't get banned for talking about it, not unless I start showing a bunch of cartoon videos. Brenda says I love Marvin. Marvin wasn't in a lot of cartoons, but he made an impact on people. I mean, you see him in pictures and stuff all the time when they do character murals, but I bet he wasn't in half a dozen cartoons.
He's got that little scrub brush on top of his helmet.
Yeah.
I have a T-shirt that says "What happened to the kaboom?" and it's got his picture on it.
It seems like he tangled with Bugs Bunny one time and Daffy Duck or another time. Maybe not. I may not be right.
I think mostly Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right.
One of my favorites.
So Tina and Carol, now that you're talking about it, I remember Snagglepuss too, but I can't. Remind me of some characters. Didn't he have a sidekick? I mean, most of those guys had some kind of sidekick. Well, Bugs didn't, I don't guess.
Marvin?
No, Snagglepuss.
Well, Marvin had a dog.
Marvin did have a dog. He had a little dog. No, wait a minute.
Well, he was a great big dog that had the same kind of helmet he had on. But I don't remember.
That's right.
I don't remember the Snagglepuss if he had a sidekick or not.
Carol says she likes to see Marvin the Martian mud flaps on trucks.
I like the ones with Yosemite where he's telling you to back off.
He was in 10 total cartoons. Okay, I started to say between 6 and a dozen. I didn't think he was in many, and that's all things considered. That's probably not many, but thank you, Tina, for that. Snagglepuss was 32 shows. He was syndicated.
Look at the research speed.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Coffee's got her fired up. Oh yeah, and Yosemite Sam was one of my favorites too. What did he call himself when he was doing the you remember the high dive stuff? He was jumping into a constantly shrinking body of water till finally
Yosemite?
I thought so. He was in like a circus, but he was trying to make Bugs or Daffy jump in. Of course, he always ended up being the one that got pushed off the diving board. But he was jumping into a pool, by the time it was over, Bugs had him jumping into like a solo cup from the high board. That was for the circus or whatever he was doing, a sideshow or whatever. Somebody I don't remember agree with me, so I'm not just so I don't think I'm making that up.
I don't remember that one. I'm sure I would if I saw it, but I don't.
Let me see if I'm hallucinating.
No, don't be playing them videos.
Oh, I'm not.
Tina said she's using Alexa for the hey Alexa. Give me some
Alexa, turn on Tina's lights.
Give me some information.
Oh, here's
turn
one.
Them on. Turn them off. Turn them on. Turn them off. Turn them
off. She'll be coming to get you. Well, here's a cartoon, the best of Yosemite Sam. Those aren't the real ones. I can tell by the drawings. And I ain't going to show them, so don't worry. Anyway, Tina.
Well, when he's sitting on the front porch singing "You Can't Get Along, Little Doggy," that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, Carol's wanting to know. Can I always depend on Carol to keep me and then Tina to keep me lined up? Carol said she wants to know about the official classification of this conversation. Is it squirrel because it's not today's topic, or a sequel because it was last week's topic?
What is our topic?
Well, I don't have a topic. I don't have a topic. Well, I kind of do, and I got some things, but that's all in a minute. I'm getting started. Brenda says a little bit of both. Oh, I remember Ask Jeeves too, but I don't think Jeeves worked. I don't remember Jeeves working there as well as Google or Alexa, whichever. She says there's no device called Tina's Lights. Oh, okay. I guess she's not controlling the rest of your house either. We'll say, but Alexa, whistle for the dogs.
Call the hounds.
Oh, call the hounds. All right, guys, I've got to take a sorrow moment. You see my name today. I've been in a little bit of mourning. Some of you already know about it. Oh, I've just got a couple of slides I am going to show. So let me bear with me. The great spirit needs to help me out here today. I can't seem to be doing nothing right. Right before launch time, or a while ago, I had a major crash, and I'm surprised some of you didn't hear the GDs from where you were at, because it was loud. I woke Brenda up. And because all the power went off, but just momentarily, just enough to
Shut everything down.
Do what?
Just enough to shut everything down.
Well, just my computer shut down hard. I mean, I thought, oh, it's a goner, and it came back. Thank goodness. But it took 30 minutes or better. I've got to look into a new computer, I think. I can't remember what I'm doing. Okay, here it is.
You were looking for some slides.
Yeah, but I really think I'm losing it. All right, now I need to do this.
Brother, I've known you for a long time. You lost it a long time.
Hey, you saying that or somebody else saying that?
And I know, and I'm right there with you. We're both lost souls.
Oh, are we ever? Ian said he had to look it up. I love Snagglepuss when he would say two outrageous statements and one downplayed one and then finish it with EVEB. I'm not sure, but that may not be right. Oh, even? Maybe that's what he said. Even. Okay, so and you can see by my slide, this is not totally dedicated to my buddy Spooky, but it's a little bit. And then I like this picture of the lodge because I thought, yeah, if I had this, people could sit around the lodge circle here and we'd talk around the fire and we could talk coffee and our favorite critters and just, sing sad songs to the four winds.
That looks like that's pretty heavily manicured.
Yeah, that one is. That's got a floor. I don't know if that's got some kind of a floor.
Looks like pea gravel or something.
It could be. I don't know. It's pretty smooth, whatever it is. But that's the comfiest bed I've ever, I guarantee you that's a comfier bed than you or I've ever slept on in a lodge. About that. Now, it might be like your dad's, but it wasn't like ours.
That's right. That's right. And that's based on all the hangings above and how slick and clean and pretty and painted that lodge is. I bet that's set up in like Santa Fe, New Mexico, or somewhere like that.
That's probably a glamping tent. I don't know.
Yeah, I bet you're right.
But I like that liner. I don't know if that's a 6 foot. They make a 9 foot liner, which would be pretty cool if you could get it up. Talk about drawing some smoke out and probably staying a lot warmer. But anyway, and get it back to that's a squirrel. So the owl.
Well, that's a horned owl.
It is a horned owl.
That's not a squirrel.
That's not a spooky either, but that's an owl. And a lot of native cultures, the owl is sort of a
harbinger of death.
Harbinger of death or carrying the spirit away, or there's several ways to interpret it. And that's how I've been reading a lot of Navajo stuff lately. So oftentimes when they see an owl fly by, somebody's died. So, and then my usual advertisement for myself, please consider hitting the like button and look at the channel and subscribe if you think you would want to, or send it out to your friends. That'd be good. Share it out. And leave a comment, because apparently all those things, help YouTube. And who knows, maybe I can get back in their good graces. And I've only got one more slide, so I'm going to wait till Marcus gets back. Yeah, Ian, yesterday was a very sad day here. And I'm hoping that, I'll be honest, I'm hoping I get through the next slide. But of all the hundreds and thousands of pictures I've probably got of him and all the other cats, this was the only one I could find this morning.
She and Zoe need that.
And that's my Spooky. And so I wrote a little ode to Spooky here. It says, to our Spooky, from the dumpster he came, and all he ever wanted was to be fed and loved. Spook, across the rainbow bridge, may you catch all the mice you want, for you were a great mouser. Let many mouse scalps hang from your lodge pole. May you always catch the red light And may you always have a warm blanket to curl beneath. And I don't want to put that hashtag, that line slash on there. It's obviously a typo. And you will be missed. And he will. He was such a good guy. He wasn't the usual needy. Everybody thinks cats are needy, or they always want something, and they kind of do. This one laying here beside me, he's not too bad either. But Spook never asked for nothing. He just wanted to eat once in a while and have some place to curl up. And he actually, that's not the blanket. That blanket hadn't been on the bed in a while, but that he liked to curl up in a blanket. He didn't mind getting under the blanket. And for the last 3 years or so, he slept with me because for about half that time, I was stuck to the bed when I couldn't walk and I couldn't get out of bed, and he was always there beside me. Usually on a heating pad. He liked to sleep. He had a heating pad he slept on because he liked to keep warm. He was always a little cat. He was never a big cat, and by the time he died, he was just skin and bones. But he had a healthy appetite up until about a week ago, and he ate like crazy. He stole the other cat. He'd sneak in and eat Teddy's food if Teddy didn't eat it first. And he was just always taking care of Spook, but he was always a good guy. He was never sick. I don't know. We probably didn't take him to a vet near enough. He could have probably used some teeth pulled and whatnot, but he was, but the last few months, every night when I'd go to bed, he'd stand at the head of the bed with me or waiting on me. And I'd get in. Once I got settled, I'd lift the covers up and he'd crawl down under the covers and curl up beside me. So I kind of missed him last night. Yeah. I'd wake up a lot of times and roll over, and I'd have to be careful because I'd be rolling over on him. So he will be missed. I think I heard him hop off the bed this morning. I swear I do. And maybe he'll be hopping off the bed for a long time, but we'll miss him. We think we had him 22 years, which is a really long time for a cat. And he lived well. So anyway. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I don't want to start. I don't want to be embarrassed and blubber. And damn pets, you get attached to them, and they're. I think everybody ought to have a pet, because I think pets are wonderful. Dogs, whether they be a dog or maybe even a pig. I mean, you pick your own, but. Worst part about them is they up and die on you, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And like Mark and I were talking yesterday, we figured the honorable way would be to die first and then let your cats and dogs eat you. That would return you back to the system. And if you can't be hung up in a tree or on a platform out in the top of the bridge, then let the crows and the ravens and the buzzards and the whatever else get you. You might as well let your pets get you. But anyway, it was tough. And I can't see what's being said because my vision is blurred for some reason. Probably because there's water in them. Let's see what was said. Brenda said he went peacefully. He did. You talking to me saying I'm just getting lost in the moment, or who? Move on. She's wanting me to move on. I had to say what I had to say. Or maybe that's not why you're saying. I don't know.
Come here.
Yeah.
Come here.
Mike, it's got to have. I mean, it's going. That's like I said. That's the bad thing about pets. You fall in love with them, and then they die. And
I think.
Yeah, it's rough, Mike. I know what you mean. You know, Tina, that's kind of how pets are to me. I mean, I get probably two. Hey, Kay, good morning. Thank you.
My buddy.
And anyway, so you guys can't still see him, can you? I still got him on the screen. Hang on a minute.
We can't see him.
No, I could. I had it still up, but I turned it off, so I had to get rid of it there. Sorry. So one of the things I had meant to talk about, or I thought about talking about, and I mean yesterday and last night, I really couldn't think about anything else, so I don't have a good presentation or a confirmed topic. I just guess I want to come on and talk, but I did have a few thoughts, and this isn't for a great big huge discussion. It's just sort of an interesting phenomenon that makes me think about other things and how imaginary lines are sometimes on the ground. And let me see if I can find some of the pictures. I pulled up some maps, and I didn't put them in the slideshow, so I'm hoping I can just show them. And, Mark and I were talking, and I've been reading about and listening about too, and hearing some things. There's several areas of the country that have actually had ballot votes or possibilities of seceding from the union to become part of another state or something. And that's what I'm saying. I don't necessarily want to get into the mechanics of all that. But it's amazing. I was reading up on that whole idea in this country, and everybody. I mean, when you talk about secession, not succession, secession, as the Confederates said. I'm surprised how often that's actually come up and how many different things there are. Technically, I live in a area that seceded. We seceded from North Carolina. Now, the way we did it, Tennessee did it back in those days, was we petitioned the North Carolina government because back in those days, the colonies, and let's see, I've got a picture of the colonies here. Let's see if I can pull that up just as a reference.
They went all the way to the Mississippi.
They went all the way to the Mississippi, yeah, even though I'm not even sure they knew where that was. I've got a couple of maps. I have one that shows, I had one yesterday that actually showed those lines. This might be it.
Virginia was the same way because Kentucky was Fincastle County
of Virginia.
And it went all the way from the Continental Divide. Yes, there is one of those over there too.
Yes, there is.
And it went all the way to the Mississippi. Big county.
Big county. Yeah, and they I'm still trying to find it, guys. Bear with. Maybe I didn't save that one. Oh no, this one will work, I think. Let me see if I can bring this one up. Well, that won't do it, Timbo. You were going to open it, not close it. All right. Tell me if you can see this enough to see what it's representing. That'll show up. Yeah, you should be able to see that. But if you look at this map, this is kind of how things were seeded out back before we were the United States. I mean, this was the British and the French were doing stuff like this long before, the USA was actually conceived of. And as you can see, Georgia claimed all the way to the Mississippi. Spain claimed this part down at the bottom. from the Mississippi over to the bottom of Georgia. And I believe that at that time they claimed Florida completely. What I found was interesting was some of these areas up here in the north, what they used to call the old Northwest Territory. Some of it was Virginia and some of it was Massachusetts. Connecticut owned a big strip out that way, or at least they claimed to. And of course, Virginia, North Carolina, and then there's this little bitty strip, sorry, Kay, that says South Carolina here below North Carolina, between North Carolina and Georgia. I'm not sure. I guess they wanted to make sure they had a highway to the Mississippi, and which is kind of silly because South Carolina's on the coast. Well, all of them are on the coast. Shipping and stuff would have been a lot easier to go by sea, I think, around Florida to get to the Panhandle or get to New Orleans, which is a common place they like to get into. And some of those Georgia or Spanish claims didn't change until we, bought the Louisiana Purchase. Mike's talking about a cat here. What, you got one under your house, Mike? Oh, Diana's cat lives outside. One of our neighbors' cats pregnant, and they had 2 kids. Oh, wow. Yeah, well, cats running wild, that's one of the best things they do well is multiply and kill all the wildlife. And then I will say that's why mine live in the house. But I grew up with outside cats. I mean, everybody did. Or not everybody, but, that's just kind of how it happened. Anyway, so I was looking at this, and I was reading up on Tennessee, for example, and Tennessee tried to secede from North Carolina early on, and we called ourselves the state of Franklin, and that one kind of fell through because it didn't get enough support, I guess, by that time. I think we were our own nation by then. And then they tried to do it, and then they did it again. They appealed to North Carolina. They had a committee, and John Sevier, the reason I'll get back to why I really was looking this up yesterday in a minute. But so they petitioned North Carolina and they petitioned the U.S. government. And after a certain amount of time, they actually created what they then called the Southwest Territory, which was just Tennessee. Didn't include the stuff below us. So I'm not sure what that was called. I didn't dig into all of them, but so the South Carolina section strip and the Georgia strip got done later, but that explains something. I was talking about lines on the ground. You live in states, and the lines on the ground usually follow something like a river or a mountain ridge. I mean, Tennessee's eastern boundary between North Carolina is the mountain. It basically runs right down the ridge of the Appalachians through there. On the west, we've got Mississippi, but south and north, it's just a line, laid out by Mason, whoever. I say Mason Dixon, I'm kidding, but surveyors plotted that stuff out, and it has led to conflicts over the years. Tennessee is almost in a constant state of self-defense from Georgia because Georgia claims the line's drawn wrong, and therefore they should get more of the Tennessee River, and therefore they can get water out of the Tennessee River to supply Atlanta, which has outgrown its water supply. Duh. I mean, that's what happens when you keep growing. And so and I look at this now and I see this South Carolina strip through there, and I'm thinking maybe that's why it all got messed up. They couldn't get those lines right, because I can't really tell by that map if that's where Tennessee state line is now, or if we actually came down a little bit further. But anyway, it's still disputed.
What's Brenda rescuing? What's a zoanthid?
Zoanthids are corals that you see all the time, but don't if you see coral pictures, and I'll pull one up here in a minute. And you don't pay.
Oh, that's in the aquarium.
That's in the saltwater aquarium. Yes, they're reef critters, and
those must be a shrimp or something.
Dozer is a shrimp. It is a pistol shrimp. And the deal is you get, if you got salt water, you can get gobies. And a lot of the gobies are bottom fish, if you will, and they burrow. And they live in little burrows under the ocean. And they'll
I didn't either, Ian. I had no idea. I thought it was flowers out in the yard and somebody was moving dirt.
Well, these shrimp are amazing. I'm not kidding you. They work, and what they do is if you get one of each, they'll pair up, and the Dozer tunnels. He helps tunnel and disturb the bottom substrate, which brings up bits of food for the goby to eat and himself to eat, and the goby watches out for him, and they work together somehow. But what's really cool about the shrimp, and this is what has happened, she's got a small zoanthid that's like 3 critters that are real bright. When they open up, are really bright colored, and they kind of capture food by it floats in, and it just sort of sticks to it, and then they have a mouth in the middle. You don't see it much, but that's where they draw their food in, kind of like a starfish might, or well, there's all kinds of salt. That's how corals eat as a rule. And this Dozer, this shrimp, is only he's not an inch long, I don't think. But he can move more dirt in a night than I could have been there with a shovel, probably, and he's covered it up. But they're so amazing to watch him work. You can see he'll come out of a hole, and he'll be pushing a load of dirt like a bulldozer. They take their front claws like this and push dirt, and then they'll back up, turn around, push another load up. I mean, it looks just like somebody using a bulldozer. It's amazing. That a creature with 3 brains, 3 gangula or whatever, no real brains, can get in there, and that instinctively knows how to make tunnels and shore up shafts, and it's just so cool to watch them work. Hopefully they'll both grow. The goby might get about this long, and the shrimp could get this big. We had a pair a long time ago in our big saltwater tank that grew together for several, I don't know, a couple of years anyway. So we're hoping that these two, they've already paired up, so we're hoping they live a long, happy life and make lots of tunnels. Brenda, the other night I was coming into the living room, and Brenda said, oh no. She said, morning, there's a collapse on tunnel 5, and the whole thing got closed up all of a sudden, so I guess he hit the wrong rock, but they do make mistakes. Anywho, back to my...
Well, they need to rename the coral because it sounds like a flower.
Well, it looks like a flower.
Like a flower that would get out and like kill America or something.
No, it's not. It's not that kind of flower. Let me see here. For example, here's a really good picture. Let me see if I can make this more bigger.
It could be an alien race. That's right.
Well, it could be. That's a thought. You probably write a book about it. Okay. For example, they often look like this. And if you look at those, that's just a whole big bunch of them together. Probably man done in an aquarium, or they may be cultivating them here. Most of this stuff now is aquacultured, so they're not taking it out of the oceans anymore. They're actually raising it on land. So, people are raising them and propagating them, so you don't have to take them out of the oceans anymore. But if you really look, you can kind of see some of them actually look like they've got a mouth. This one does. But these are all different kinds of zoos, and the ones Brenda has, they're not this bright. This guy's got a ultraviolet light on them. Probably the colors are beautiful. Down here at the bottom center, maybe, or near the bottom center right, is kind of what she's got. They look similar to that. They're more of an orange, but they don't look like these orange ones. Those have longer fingers.
I think Brenda might be responsible for the biggest squirrel ever on this program.
Good job, babe. Carkey says lots of wranglings happening on Saturday mornings. Brenda with her zoanthids, Tina with her hounds, Marco with his grandkids. Maybe I should rename this show. Wrangling on Saturdays. Those are neat. I might as well. I'm deep into this squirrel. I might as well go a little further.
I hope to have my tank to look and all of Tim's money.
What?
Yeah, I'm telling you, you're going to the body farm, buddy. If you come up missing, I'm going to go over there and check.
You go look for me.
Well,
This one's a little better. I mean, you can kind of see the difference in them a little bit better. I was going to dig up a pistol shrimp. Let me show you a pistol shrimp.
So those corals there on kind of across the middle with those hexagonal structures. I have fossils that look like that from Friendship.
Oh, I don't. Well, cool. I don't remember finding those at Friendship, although I'm sure I probably did see them.
Great big ones. They were like the size of your head, great big round.
Really?
Always called them.
The whole thing. Yeah.
Always called them like a brain coral, but they weren't. They looked like that.
Well, this is probably what they were, some form of prehistoric zoanthid.
From the Silurian.
Yeah, what he said. These pistol shrimp are the kind that can snap their claws. And now these little guys aren't too much about doing that, but they can. They can snap their claws and, hurt somebody. Or, another critter, not somebody. I think our guy, he's so little you can't see a lot of color. Oh, he's about like this guy.
Well, we don't see the guy.
I know. I'm getting ready to show you the guy. Hang on, just a second.
We're just seeing corals.
Well, imagine this guy. I'm gonna pull him up here right now. We're gonna swap pictures. There, can you see that?
Yeah.
He looks kind of like that, only he's 3/4 of an inch long.
Looks like a crayfish.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
Or a mud bug.
Brenda's that close? I know he's got stripes. I can't remember how.
It reminds me of my
Tina, that's right. If I have slides, it can't be a squirrel. It doesn't count as a squirrel.
He reminds me of my oldest grandson because you can see his circulatory system. I tried to get milk to come out your nose on that one.
It would have been hot coffee. It would have hurt. Oh, that would have stung. And I just about did it too. Oh my goodness. And what kind of goby do we have? I can't remember the name of that one. They have cool names like Watchman gobies and yellow prawn gobies who they get their name because they will match up with shrimps. And I don't see any. I got gobidae, family gobidae. What are goby fish good for? Well, I don't know about that, but they're fun to watch. Can you eat goby? Well, now, why would you want to eat goby?
They're probably
Well, interesting fact. I just read there that along some coastlines they do eat goby. I guess the ones that get big enough to eat. I don't know. I wouldn't want to eat ours for a couple reasons. One, they wouldn't make a mouthful. Well, I can't get a real good picture of them, but this one, let me see what this does. Yeah, it's pretty small. Oh, well, I don't have a picture. That could be a squirrel cleaning because I couldn't come up with a picture of it. Maybe this will be better. Oh, here we go. Sounds like a cheer from a football game or something.
a wheeler goby.
Where'd you find that?
So he's got a little 4-wheeler that he runs around on.
How was? Oh, I found Did Brenda say we had a wheeler? Is that what she said?
Yeah, Brenda said that, and then the shrimp's blind, so the goby protects him.
Yeah, well, I forgot about that part. But here he is. This is what he looks like.
That's cool.
That's cool fish. They're cool fish. And he'll get 2-3 inches long, maybe.
It's like a saltwater darter.
It does, doesn't it? It's funny. I mean, most fish in freshwater have, there's a facsimile in salt, but they're not the same, but they're close. And some fish can swap over. In aquarium life, they take mollies, which are really common in freshwater aquariums, and you can what's the word, Brenda? Acclimate them to salt water, and they'll live in salt water. You can have, they'll go either way. Pardon me. That's the goby. Does that look good to you, Brenda? I think we got it. This is the guy we've got. And he doesn't show up that bright, but if you shine a flashlight on him, his colors really pop. I was doing that the other night. He was down under a rock, and I could hit him with the light, and those bands really jumped out. Anyway, that's him. And I won't, I don't necessarily need to bore you with any more of those. I'm going to show this. I'm hesitant, but I think I will. Because, what not? Should I've already pulled it up? I might as well. This is an interesting piece of ground, and this is an area Mark and I were talking about, actually, the other day. This northwestern part of the country, I didn't realize how some of the efforts that have been to secede from I guess become a state of their own, or secede from the union, or merge with one of the other states. Several counties out there in that part of the country have voted. There's some counties in eastern Oregon that have actually voting next week on not that this means anything other than they're just voting on it, to secede to Idaho. They want to become part of Idaho because Idaho people think more like they do. And there's some people in Northern California that want to join Idaho or Wyoming. Yeah, Mark, that's probably California just trying to get resident hunting license over there. I didn't think of that. That way they don't have to buy non-res.
Well, so like Eastern Oregon, east of the mountain range, it's sagebrush country and it's cow country and they're cowboys and they're not coastal Oregonians, totally different socially than if you get over by Salem and all that country to the west, in Oregon, who are much more, they're coastal. They're like California people or Washington folks, and so Eastern Oregon is like I said, they're still punching cows there, and they align politically more with Idaho or Wyoming or we only have one county that kind of deviates from the crowd in Wyoming, and that would be Teton County. And I don't know what that means right there. What is that?
Oh, I was getting ready to explain this. This is one I mean, honestly, I found this one just a little bit. What's Ian saying? They want to pump their own gas. You could be right, Ian. Ask our Canadian friends if they're still in here, Diana or Mike, if you're still here. Do you guys pump your own gas, or do you still have there's a service station attendant still required? There are some states here that have that. A lot of states now are self-service. I'll be honest, I wish I could pull up and just say,
fill her up.
Fill her up like we used to. I used to be a pump boy. I used to do pumps out for a service station. I used to do the windows, and
And
my concern was always whether they were going to pay me or not. I had a few people that used to come up and say, "Put that on, get the gas." I'd pump it in, and then they'd say, "Put that on my tab." And I'd be like, "Do you have a tab? I don't know these things." And some of them did, some of them didn't. So it was some of it was kind of touch and go, but that's how it was done, and it still is in some places. I think like I went through a state. There's some eastern states that do that. If you live,
Ian, you're right. That's Jackson Hole. It's the richest county in America, surrounded by a bunch of cowboys.
which makes it different.
Yeah, and that's what's going on in Oregon, is that the eastern counties that are still cowboy country and much lower population, they don't feel represented.
Yeah, that's true, Tina. They could charge less for the money at self-service, and that's probably another reason why self-service became the thing. I mean, I don't know if you could find a full-service gas station anywhere in this part of the world now. There used to be a few. There used to be a couple, maybe here in Knoxville. I'm not sure, that if you pulled up to the pumps next to the building, the closest ones to the office, they would come out and gas up your car, and they probably charge more for it. Then you usually have an outside set of pumps, and people could pull up and gas their own. That's how we used to do it at the place I worked, or one of the places. They, one set of pumps for you pump, and one set of pumps for I pump, and it was kind of an interesting thing. If you live in a state where you can't pump your gas, say, raise your hand. Diana G says they have both self-service and full service. This flag, I'll be honest with you, this flag kind of bothered me. It still does kind of bother me. I don't have the map of it, but it's that area I showed you a minute ago, this area. And part of Canada, actually, British Columbia, somebody wants to grab. And they want to turn this into a country of its own that flies this flag.
I never even heard of that.
And well, I did some research on it yesterday.
And I live in one of those states.
I know you do. And they want to turn that into a pure white nation. They want to kick everybody else out.
Crazy people from North Idaho.
Well, exactly. And it even mentioned that in the articles.
Well, that ain't never gonna
happen. They call it. They have a name for it and everything. I remember when this was a slightly bigger topic of discussion a few years ago when they were trying to do some of this, and I didn't realize they wanted to maybe take as much of that land as that. I thought it was just going to be part of Idaho, but obviously, if they could get more land, it would be a different thing altogether. But I thought that was both interesting and disturbing.
It's a non-starter. That ain't ever going to happen.
Well, I hope not. I wish I could find that other. I found some cool maps that showed the territories. I even found an article about how all the ceremony, pomp and circumstance, if you will, that France and England went through when France gave England Canada, basically. I don't remember the year. You, Brian, or Mark, Diane, or Mike might know. Ian, is that in Colorado or is that somewhere else? And I don't want to get too deep because I don't know what kind of conversation this would turn into. I'm not. This is Saturday morning.
That's in Idaho.
Is that Idaho? So did you grow up in Idaho, Ian? Tina wants to know what you're looking at, Mark.
A junco.
Oh, a junco. In case you don't know, Tina, that's a bird. Are they white-eyed or what? Is that right?
No, those only live down there where I went to school.
Okay. North of Coeur d'Alene. Well, you lived right up there amongst it, didn't you?
Where the crazies live.
Can you imagine? And again, I'm not trying to start any fights. Can you imagine the ammunition and stuff stockpiled up in that part of the country? Woo! I bet they've got most of the 223 ammo in the world, short of the military. Oh my goodness. You had Mavericks, Carol? No, I had a weird high school life. First 2 years in Los Angeles, second 2 years in Rathdrum. Am I saying that right? Rathdrum, Idaho. I bet that was culture shock. Wow, from Southern California to Idaho. That'd be a rough change. Oh, Tina likes birds too. Diana, now I don't remember what the question was, so don't worry about it. Something Ian said, or something. Maybe it was something I said. I don't know. Oh, like Wraith. So it's Rathdrum. Did you see what he said, Mark? First 2 years of high school he spent in Southern California, and the second
Wrath,
he spent in Idaho. That had to be kind of rough.
It's Wrath, not Wraith.
Wrath. So, they call it Wrath?
Rathdrum. Or Rathdrum. Two years in Los Angeles and 2 years in northern Idaho.
And that would be culture shock. There's no two ways around it. Oh, I guess race has an I in it when it's spelled that way, doesn't it? Mark got it. Okay, I got it wrong. My fault.
Yeah, you got to, race. That's a twisted thing, according to Tolkien.
A twisted thing? Is that what it? How's that?
The
That's how it's
race, like
described?
the ring race.
Yeah, I know what the race are. But I forgot he didn't put an I in it.
It's a distorted, twisted thing. Maybe just mentally.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I was trying to figure out exactly how that described it. I'm not doubting him at all. I'm just was wondering.
Well, he was the master of language, or at least English,
Well, now he was that.
Anglo-Saxon.
Brenda, your Maverick was red, and I think your Maverick was a 4-door, wasn't it? They literally booed Magic Johnson when he showed up on a inspirational video. Oh, wow. Fun.
Yeah.
I had some friends that moved to Idaho a few years ago, and they just got back to Tennessee. And I'll be honest with you, I was really surprised they survived. They did. I don't think they fit in very well. They moved up there because their grandkids were up there.
But all the states not like that. It's that.
Oh, I know.
It's that stuff up there where McPat was from McManus.
Oh, okay.
That Sandpoint country and all that stuff up by the border.
Now, Ian, how old of a Comet? Because they made a Comet that was like Brenda's Maverick. I think that was the Mercury version of a Ford Maverick. But there was also Comets made a long, long time ago that were Fords. No. Falcons were Fords, Comets were Mercury's back then too. But they were on the same platform. I've spent a lot of time in Comets Comets and Falcons actually when I was growing up. Most of them had 3 on the tree column shifter, and you'd be amazed what they can pull up a mountainside if you really have to.
My grandpa drove a Comet till he died in the 80s.
Really?
Not a Comet, a Falcon.
Falcon, yeah.
A red Falcon.
They were great little cars.
I don't know how long he had owned it, but a long time.
Well, they made them in the early 60s. I don't know if they made them in the late. I can't remember what the first year. The oldest one I ever drove was a 61, I think.
Yeah, and his was probably of that vintage. And I always wished I had that car after.
Yeah, that was another one of those cars before their time. They were small, had not a great big huge. They had a 6-cylinder engine in them. I don't know if you could get a 283. I think they did make something that had a 283 in it later on, but they had a 160 or 190 inline 6 that Ford made, and they got decent gas mileage. You remember that old van I had that I drove to Friendship a couple times?
Yeah.
That had a big 6-cylinder, like a 306, and that thing would get 30 miles to the gallon with a load in it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And that was a van. Tina says her first car was a Comet. Had a hole in the floor, but my dad put a piece of plywood and I drove it to college. Well, see, there you go. That was the great thing about those days. You could lay a piece of plywood in your floor. It was almost like having a brand new car. I've driven a few of those too. You could see the road going by. I had a friend.
Well, remember that Chevy Love that I had?
Oh, yes.
That green,
yes, the
green
one.
one that I painted with a broom, that had been painted with a broom, literally. And we had scabbed that thing back together. It had holes in the floor and holes in the frame and holes everywhere else. And I drove that thing to Belize and back. And we went down there fishing between grad school and undergrad. We drove all the way to the Yucatan in that truck. And And the Mexicans never looked twice at us. They never like, we're going to steal your stuff, because they knew I didn't have any stuff.
So I didn't know that. You drove that Love. When did you get you got it after you had the little red pickup then?
So I had the little red pickup, and I got the Love after right after I graduated from Hawking. I got that green Love. I bought it from Curly Gostomski.
What a great name for a car. Was he a car salesman or just a guy that you knew?
No, you knew Curly. He made
Curly, yeah.
Northwest Trade Guns.
Oh, Curly. I forgot his last name. Oh my Lord. I probably knew that and forgot it.
We drove up to Dayton to pick it up. Dad and I did. Dad and Brad and Dale and I went up there to pick that truck up. And I was driving it back south, and Curly had not it had a topper on it. And Curly didn't put the clamps on.
Oh, no.
And I'm going down the interstate like however fast it would go. And that topper just came floating off the back, and it landed in the highway and slid down, didn't cause any wrecks. And I went and picked it back up, put it on there.
Ian, you're not far from the truth. Curly he could have been a used car salesman. Trust me, he was a character.
He was a character.
He's long gone by now, but
he's way long gone. But
Brenda, you know the muzzle loader I've been looking for, that was the Curly Northwest Trade Gun. Curly kind of
he made barrels out of like tinfoil, and you couldn't hit anything with them.
Well, I couldn't, that's for sure.
And you or I, either one. We were to shoot one time. We couldn't even hit a 4x8 piece of plywood.
I don't know that that's sad. I mean, both shoot a lot better than that too. We couldn't hit the target for nothing.
Dad's barrels are good barrels, but Curly's were awful.
Well, he's kind of the guy that I know, I could be wrong about this, but he's kind of the guy that sort of brought back the trade gun idea.
Right.
Nobody was doing that before.
He was the one. He knew more about trade guns than anybody on the planet, and he just had really crappy barrels. So now we really chased a squirrel.
That's okay. That's just
we went from Falcons to trade guns.
Well, just kind of on spookies on her. Yeah, I keep waiting for him to run down here and holler at me from behind. We had our last car, Carol. Our last car before we bought the Mazda had a 6 CD changer in it, but it was in the dash. The changer wasn't in the back. But I can remember when that was a big deal, man. If you had a big stereo, you had a stereo in your car, and in the back was the CD changer with the amp and everything. Ian says he thinks this is a squirrel show, and you're absolutely right, Ian, and I'm not going to be ashamed of it. And I need to take your 1974 down, don't I? Hey, Shelly, good morning. How are you today?
My buddy Danny bought I think it was a 72 Mustang. It was an awful car. It wasn't.
Yes, those were not good cars.
It was one that went from a cool car to a not cool car, but it had an 8-track deck in it.
Oh yeah.
And we had 2 8-track tapes that we bought at the flea market. One of them was George Strait's Amarillo by Morning, and one of them was Foreigner's Dirty White Boy.
Well, let me tell you what
that's all we listened to for like years, going fishing in that stupid little blue car.
Well, you know, back when 8-tracks were the thing to have, I went to school in Florida. My buddy Kevin, I went down there with originally. He had an 8-track player in his car, and our buddy lived across the street from Kevin, where we had our first dark room. He had a machine that we could copy albums onto an 8-track player.
Oh, cool.
And you could buy tape for an 8-track player that would play 120 minutes or something like that. So you could put 2 or 3 albums on it as a rule, at least 2. And you flipped them over. 8 tracks had 2 sides.
Right.
Never figured out the 8-track part, but you could flip it over, I think it was, and play the other side. I think that's how it worked. And
Shelley says Queen was her first 8-track.
we copied a couple of 8 tracks, and they were there was Jose Feliciano and who was another one that we maybe Neil Diamond, the great concert he did out west when he was younger, Hot August Night. Which if you've never heard of Hot August Night, you gotta listen to Hot August Night. That's a great album, and we would play that for like 1,200 miles, down there and back, and it just repeat, it just keep playing.
And you knew every song as it came up. You knew just to start singing the next song.
After a few times, you can sing the words and get all the right clicks and licks and know exactly where to chime in. And the speakers, buzzed and bounced around in the back of the back deck of the car in the back seat. And
I'm sorry, Ian, that you missed the 8-track time. It was good.
It was a good time. And in the 1980s, late 1980s, when 8 tracks were thought to be long gone and extinct, extirpated from the surface of the world, I went to West Virginia to repair one of Walmart's airplanes, and we went to a hardware store. I think it was an Ace Hardware up there to try to find some equipment to shore the airplane up so we could bolt some wooden cradles together, that kind of thing, because they wrecked it pretty good. And right there, I walked in, and right there in front of God and everybody, in the middle front main aisle of the store, sat a rack that said Craig Stereophonic Equipment, and it was full of brand new 8-track tape players ready to go in your car. Somerville, West Virginia, and I thought we had all died. That was probably one of the last times I saw 8 tracks, but there they were, just like that was the newest, hottest thing I'd ever seen in West Virginia. I thought, wonder how long will it be before cassette decks and CDs get up here.
Tina, have you lost yourself? You said you looked at your dogs and then went out to let the dogs in.
No, Shelley said she had a TV console back when TVs were always in a console, or a lot of TVs were. She had one that had an 8-track built in. That's kind of cool. We had a TV console at the time and had a turntable in one end of it. I said, what is an 8-track? Yeah, look it up. Hey, and guess who invented the 8-track tape player? The guy that invented the Learjet. I can't think of his first name now.
That would have been a way cooler story if you said it was a Canadian. The guy that invented the 8-track was a Canadian.
Who said that?
It was music that played in one continuous loop.
Okay, I have heard 2 or 3 people now say they know Neil Diamond, but have you listened to Hot August Night? It's a 2-album set, and it is fantastic. I'll have it on my Amazon Music. I play it down here on my computer about as loud as I can get it every once in a while. Bon Ohan, what? Music. Yeah, it wasn't the best quality tape. I mean, of course, back then we thought things like that were good. We really didn't know any different. I mean, that's just what we had. Oh, there's one. There's
this
one.
would be an 8-track.
Look at that compared to a cassette deck. My cassette player.
My beautiful bride just brought this in.
Thank
This
you.
is Elton. This is Elton John. Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road.
Yellow Brick Road. I see him standing there.
I don't think we have. I can't believe you came up with that.
Where did she get that?
She went out to the music collection and brought this in.
Well, hang on to it like Confederate money. It may come back.
It may come back just like Confederate money.
When I grew up, that's what people would say.
We do not have a player.
Tina says her husband has an 8-track player.
Oh, well, maybe we need to ship this there so he can listen to it.
Yeah, see if it still plays.
Oh, I guarantee it does. It was built in an era where we cared about how we made stuff.
That's true. We built things to last a while. That's true.
Oh, darling, you need to put that up where it's protected better than. This might be worth like $1 gazillion.
That there might be an antique, and it could be a rare antique.
Well, I know from experience that in the state of Wyoming, we have, every state has its own SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office.
Yes.
And I know that structures that are older than 50 years old are considered
historic,
genuine historic antiques. And if you burn them down, you can get in trouble with the SHPO.
How do you know? How would you know this, Mark?
Because we did that to a granary on one of our wildlife units, and we got crosswise with the SHPO. And that was when I was a state employee. So
that was a bad thing.
Yeah, and it was a building. It was a granary. So it was a corn storage building that it was about to fall over and kill somebody. And one day we're like, well, let's just like 3 or 4 of us go up there and burn that thing to the ground. And we did. And
remove the hazard.
And we were out in the middle of nowhere, It wasn't like we were in town, and we burned that to the ground. And the SHPO people that drove up and down that road occasionally noticed it wasn't there one day and saw the big black spot. And they come hunting us.
I can tell you for a fact that the SHPO can shut down a project faster than you can say Tom beat Dick up for a hamburger.
And it turned out it was one of those, it's better to ask forgiveness than permission kind of things.
Well, you probably wouldn't have got to tear it down.
Well, the building was built in like 1947. It wasn't like it was ancient.
It really wasn't that old.
Yeah.
Or no significant value. Mike made a comment on your 8-track. He said that thing looked like a brick. That's about the right size, too. It's nearly that big. Now that I remember this, tell the story that you told me about how you became the illustrator for that book about the ferrets. Carol, I hope you're still here.
Well, I don't know that I remember the story of how I became the illustrator.
I'll tell you how I heard it. You said they were working on that book, and these were guys that Mark worked with or for. Well,
one of them had been my original supervisor in Wyoming.
Yes.
And one of them was my pal.
And one of them used to be married to your wife.
That's correct. And he was my buddy before that, long before that. And he was my, we both did the same job. And I don't even remember how it.
You
They
Here's what you told me. You said they were working on it, and one day one of them was standing there, or you were talking to them, or maybe you guys were in the pickup truck. I don't know. Or you could have been out in the middle of a cornfield hunting grouse or something. But they said they needed an illustrator for their book. And you said, well, I can draw, or something to that effect. Or one of them said, Mark, you can draw. And you took the book home, or
I did. I illustrated the whole thing
in one weekend.
In one weekend.
Mark got so involved. The story, what he told me was he got so involved in the story and the drawings that he did all the drawings in that book, and I guess including the cover. I think it's got
no, the cover painting took a little bit longer, but they said, hey, go home, take this book home and do like a couple of samples and we'll decide, and I just illustrated the whole book.
And it's stuck.
And then and it's still not. There were several more drawings associated with the book that Mr. Rudd failed to insert into said book.
Oh,
well, and so he published this out of his own pocket, basically, and finally got it published, and he's making a second run here soon because the first run's about gone.
That's good. That's very good.
And so he's going to make a second run, and he's going to insert the remainder of the drawings into the book. So there'll be a second version that comes out that's got more illustrations. But anyway.
Well, that's cool. That's great that he sold. I don't know how many he ran, but that's good. No matter how many he ran, if he's selling them and they've sold out, that's a good thing.
Well, I had a ranching family.
Go ahead.
I had a ranching family come here to the house the other day that they bought several of them. One of our local ranchers, and they left a whole box of them here on my table. I got to sign. So,
yeah, I don't even have a signed one.
And I don't know what to even say about, I'm the illustrator. I didn't write the book, but
yeah, but it's still important. You still played a good role in it. They could have published it without your photo or your images, but it wouldn't have been near the same. I mean, let's face it, that pictures in a book make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and there was one drawing in there I did that I really didn't like, and they put it in there, and I asked him if he could pull it the next time, but I don't draw humans well, but that's not the one I'm worried. There's a badger photo in there I don't like, but and his name changed. His original name was Festus.
Oh, really? The badger was?
Yeah, because my buddy Ron, he had a professor at UW at University of Wyoming that everybody, he was a range professor, and everybody called him Festus. And he was kind of a gruff old, surly old curmudgeon guy. And then Ron was quite taken with the original Festus.
Yeah.
And then my nickname became Festus. And so I always thought it was cool that the badger's name was Festus. And Bill changed his name to, I guess, the Shoshone word for
badger,
which is Hunan, and it sounds more Vietnamese than Shoshone to me. But anyway, it's there were some changes made along the way, but that's what happens when you're writing books, I guess.
I was trying to see if my copy was sitting over. I do have a hardback copy of it here.
You got a hardback copy?
Well, no. Paperback, but just a paper copy. I got a book and I've got it on Kindle also.
Oh yeah.
Because the last time I ordered some, what I did was I wanted to try to get some out to places that I thought would be notable. And I sent one to Carol for her to hopefully maybe read to her kids someday, or her kids at school or something. And I sent one to Angie, the lady that came on to talk about the outdoor school.
Right.
And I sent her a copy. And then I got myself a copy. Like I said, I've also got my first exposure to it was a Kindle version.
Right. When it first was published, I sent you a link for that.
That's the one that went away after I bought it, after we bought copies or ordered copies or whatever. So I was kind of glad I got that before he pulled it. And because at that time, I don't think there were any paperbacks published, were they? Or any?
No, it was just a Kindle.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
The original version. And yeah, so. But I have like 6 copies of the book from over the years, and it's the basic story's still the same. It's just changed a bit. But there's I know Carol's probably the only one here that, other than yourself, that's read it. There's a set of burrowing owls. Their names Clyde, Clark, and Clifford.
Yeah.
And Clyde Clark was Ron's farrier.
Oh.
And he just passed away. He was a really cool guy.
I'm sorry.
Vietnam veteran. He was a great guy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And Clifford was one of Ron's horses, Clifford the Wonder Horse. So all the names in the book basically had some, that they were folks we knew.
Did you see what Brenda said? She said you could sign it from some quote from your favorite Native American or something, and then just sign your name.
Like Hokahay.
Yeah, okay.
Hokahay.
Kelly's talking about Russell Means, the Lakota Sioux part of AIM. Yeah, he was one of the members, or one of the AIM members that was at Wounded Knee in 70?
76. Yeah.
Squirrel. I'm starting to get some new birds on my feeders too. We're getting more finches and small birds coming through. And Brenda saw a butterbut outside the other day.
A what?
A yellow rumped warbler.
Oh, did you just call it a butterbutt?
Yeah, some people I know call them a butterbut because they got that yellow spot on their tail.
That's one of the most common warblers we have out here.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I think they just pass through here.
Summertime we have them nesting around here, and yellow warblers and yellow rumps, and trying to think, mourning warblers.
I think I did, Brenda, but I'll tell him again.
No, he did, Brenda. That's a cool deal right there. I told him you guys needed to go make your claim.
Mark thinks we should try to lay claim to Sevier County and everything that's there because it was named after him and your family. So, if we could get your fair cut out of, Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg.
Get you some Dollywood money.
Yeah, we can get some Dollywood money for being in Sevierville. And we might make out pretty good, babe. Good thing you found that.
Gatlinburg, and especially. Yeah.
Anything in Sevier County, we could just about, draw a check from. I'm thinking, or maybe just the town in general. We just we'd go to Sevierville first, and get the paperwork squared away, and then Pigeon Forge, and I think Gatlinburg's still in Sevier County. And we could probably really
You could
retire.
probably retire in style then.
Yeah, instead of
Not-
just abject poverty.
Just regular retire, but
Yeah,
retire.
we could really retire. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, John Sevier was definitely one of the founding fathers of
He
Tennessee.
was splat.
Now,
What
he
does
was
that
probably
mean?
in,
What does
Huh?
that mean?
what does what mean?
He was splash, taking a bath. Oh, maybe that bird.
Oh, the yellow rump warbler. Yeah, the yellow rump warbler was taking a bath in the bird bath.
Got it.
But John Sevier was probably American Tennessee /hero /villain. I mean, he back in those days, you know, it was sometimes it was hard to tell. You know, one minute they were fighting Indians, and in his case, the Cherokee and the Choctaw, I think, and maybe the Creek.
Them Red Stick Creeks.
Yeah, and then the next time he was, you know, parlaying with them, and then the next thing you know, he's helping pack them off to. I think he was. I don't know if he was still around by the time they packed them all to Oklahoma. He might
I
have been
think
gone.
he was gone by then.
Yeah. Ian thought Mr. Sevier was taking a bath. And Mr. Sevier might not have taken many baths since he was a frontiersman.
Probably got wet. He probably took a bath when it was raining.
Yeah.
And anytime he fell in the creek.
I'd say that's about right. But he was, I mean, what I think I would look at him as more than an Indian fighter would be the fact that he fought at the Battle of Kings Mountain. So he was involved in beating the British at Kings Mountain when they were trying to come over the mountains and lay waste to us with sword and fire. I
Well,
believe
that's where Mr. Ferguson met his end.
Yeah, and Mr. Ferguson sent a letter across the mountains and wanted the over mountain people to stay out of the fight in South and North Carolina. And he told them if they didn't lay down their arms, he would march across the mountains and lay waste to their villages, isn't the word settlements and other things, and just, you know, by sword and just, you know, take us all out. And so we gathered up at the shoals, Sycamore Shoals, and marched across the mountain and showed him what for.
And killed him and all his boys.
Yes, they pretty much you know, he never said that again. Shelley said,
but he invented a really cool rifle.
He invented a really cool rifle. Yeah, he did that. And in fact, he was carrying that rifle at that battle, and a few people had it. But I read something not long ago that said when he came out with that, the military had ordered like 100 of them to try to see if they were worthy of, you know, issuing to everybody. And they had decided for some reason they had issued them and then pulled them, and they weren't issued out. So most of those guys didn't have his rifle at that battle. It might have made the difference, actually. But
Kelly, that's cool.
I'd like to have that.
Great grandma was a Choctaw, and great granddad was half Cherokee. My wife is she's a part of her family were Benges, Benge, and they were Cherokees, and they're on the Dawson Rolls in Oklahoma, and anyway, she's a Cherokee as well, partial.
Yeah, that's cool. And you're partial what? Shawnee or some
Shawnee and Seneca.
Seneca. Cool.
Yeah, so one Iroquois and one Algonquian. So, and then Shauna's actually got Powhatan in her too from back in the olden days.
Yeah, earlier.
So all that's documented, and I even have a photo of one of my Shawnee great grandmother. She got photographed right after they invented photography, I guess. But
You don't have that handy, do you?
No, I can make it handy for some other time, but
Yeah, if you ever have it out or find it or something.
it's
That's cool, Shelley. I'd be proud of that. I'd be proud to have that. I told somebody one time I don't want to go get their casino money or anything, but I wish I could at least say I was one. I feel like I was one. I feel like I was born half one, but
so
apparently
we got so my son got stopped. They driving through the Wind River Indian Reservation. They had a checkpoint. The tribal police had a checkpoint up for something. They were looking for somebody or something, and so they were pulling everybody over, and and the guy, the I don't know if he was Shoshone or Arapaho, but he's like, "Are there any Indians in this car?" and then he said, "And I don't mean if your great great grandmother was like 1/16 Cherokee."
well, I guess he's got a point there.
Yeah, he was looking for somebody specific, but
You know what, Shelley? I think I know what you mean because I think I've got some either. Well, I'm 90% sure that I'm got Melungeon blood, which would probably give me Indian, native blood and Mediterranean blood like Portuguese, Spanish, even. Or North Africa. It's hard to say because the Melungeons are not that well documented, and
no tribe, no dance. She wanted to do the fancy dance.
Oh, no tribe, no dance. Oh, that's too bad.
So they, my wife did the DNA thing, and it came back exactly as the family history said, like Cherokee or Southern Iroquoian, which would be Cherokees, and some Algonquian, and which would be the Powhatan people out of Virginia. And then, but her little sister did the same test, and hers came back like she's just a white girl.
See, so there's some flaws in that system.
I don't know. I don't understand the technology well enough to know if it would show up every time or if it,
I've heard of people doing it twice and it comes back a little different. And, I don't expect there's a whole lot of other blood in my DNA or whatever, but I know there's something in there that I think I did show up. I think mine did show some Mediterranean area like edge of Portugal and that sort of thing, which would fit the Melungeon pattern perfectly.
I'm going.
Oh, she said it's okay. She can still do intertribal. Well, there you go. But does that mean you still can't dance, or is there one when you can dance? Mark must have muted. That's interesting, Ian. Brenda has her bloodline has agnostic Jew. I'm not saying that right, but it's really common for anybody that your ancestral blood. Yeah, there's something in there. All right, I agree. How to say that, Brenda? Aganasi Jew, which were the people that moved into a lot of Central Europe and Eastern and Western Europe, Germany, Poland, all that area. And then, I guess some of them were Jews, some of them probably changed, some of them probably got burned in the Spanish Inquisition, unless they changed. But she's got that in her bloodstream. But just about anybody with much European blood from that part of the world has probably got Jewish DNA in there somewhere, because they were just there. They spread out all over that part of Europe long before we think about it. I never realized that they migrated that far, from the Middle East and traveled up that way and that kind of stuff. But they were, I guess that's one of the reasons why there were so many Jewish people that had to either were captured or fled when crap hit the fan up there in the 40s, or 30s. Oh, okay, Shelly. Well, you ought to try that. Can you do the same dance can you wear I guess you're wanting to wear the ceremonial, I don't say garb. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, that kind of clothing, decorations or whatever, if you do that. Because some of those dancers are really pretty fantabulous when they're with their costumes or their clothing. I hate to call it a costume. I know it's not.
Huh.
I have heard of that happening, Tina. And they've done some amazing stuff with that in the last couple of years.
Well, my sister-in-law's husband found out that he wasn't related to his siblings whatsoever.
Who did?
My sister-in-law's husband found out that he wasn't related to his siblings, and they weren't related to each other. They were all test tube babies. I mean, he wasn't, biologically related.
Huh. That's interesting. He wasn't adopted?
No, well, I guess they were half siblings, not full siblings. So.
Oh, okay. But he didn't know that.
Yeah, they did. They never knew growing up. I mean, their dad was their dad. But, take that. Your dad's your dad.
And sometimes you find out they're not.
Yeah, but if they raised you, they're still your dad.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't disagree. And I've been to a couple of powwows, and they're the dance routines are they can be mesmerizing. They're also, they're quite interesting. And what doesn't really show up sometimes in a lot of those those kind of dances when they're doing it for show or for competition is, most of those dances are rooted in cultural stories and that sort of thing.
And a lot of the really cool things about some of the dances, the traditional dances, not like the fancy dance, but like the older dances that, the men usually wore a bustle of feathers on their back.
Yeah.
And they're based in prairie grouse dancing, like sharp-tailed grouse and sage grouse dance, or prairie chickens dancing. And because they get together in a big old scrum and do their deal, and it's pretty cool to watch. And a lot of those native dances look just like that. It's cool, I think.
And your daughter used to be really good at that. I think I might have her dancing on tape. When
Caitlin dancing like a sharp-tailed grouse?
Yeah. Yep. She was really good at it. I was impressed. She could do it. Of course, she rode around with Mark for years, so she could do a lot of outdoorsy stuff. But she could do the sharp-tailed dance really well.
If nobody's ever seen that, just Google sharp-tailed grouse dancing or sharp-tailed grouse lek.
L-E-K.
L-E-K. And it's pretty impressive.
It is, and Caitlin used to do it quite well when she
was just a little girl.
Yeah, she was. I don't know, 5. I don't think she was in school yet.
Yeah, she was just a little kid.
I need to find that. I bet that's on. I had some Super 8 tapes that I had a little recorder, a little camcorder, and that was on some kind of small tape format, and I think that's where I've got that on. I need to plug that up to a TV.
I would pay good money for that.
I'll have to see if it wouldn't cost you anything. I'll have to.
It's in my head forever, but I'd
Yeah.
love to see the actual footage.
She was I have to tell you something. That was a kid that if I'd lived a lot closer, I'd have adopted her too, because she was pretty fascinating. Smart kid, and just, I mean, she rode around with her dad all those years
in a green pickup
truck, and out on the prairies of at that time, eastern Wyoming, mostly, I guess.
Yep.
And at least when I met her, and
when she started school, the her teacher I had to go to a parent teacher conference or something, and her teacher said she's struggling a little bit with math, but she can name over 200 species of birds.
Which made her papa quite proud, I'm sure.
Which made me, like, my head got great big. They would go on field trips, and she'd just be like, well, there's a western meadowlark, and that's an eastern meadowlark. See, it sounds different.
That's great. I love that. That's cool. I'm quite proud too. That's
Night before last, she sent me a picture of a Couch's spadefoot toad she found in her front yard.
I got my girls as far as they would go to pick up. They'd grab a snake and run up and show it to me and say, "What is this, Dad?" And we caught some garter snakes that way, and had a couple of ringnecks they brought in. They wouldn't pick anything up that didn't look. They didn't know what it was, but that just used to drive my poor mother crazy, because she just knew they were going to grab.
I could only imagine.
This worried her to death that I was teaching them bad things, and they were going to reach down and grab a copperhead one day and get bit. And she said, "You shouldn't be teaching those girls about that stuff." And I said, "They're my girls. Why wouldn't I? They need to know these things."
Well, and like, I was running around with, Troy Purcell back in the day, and I had him out catching snakes all the time, and his mother was just convinced that copperheads bred with other snakes, and
yes,
you're gonna catch a garter snake someday that's gonna, like, put you down.
Tina said I was teaching them good things. I thought so, Tina. I really did. I mean, for more than one reason. For one thing, they knew which ones not to mess with, and but they also knew that they could. Tina said, "Who needs math anyway?" That's right, exactly. You only need math to know how many birds you counted today. And I got to ask you. I put this up here and left it because I didn't want to forget. But when were you taking trips to the Navajo reservation, or what was the purpose? Was that just to go, or because I find that pretty. Hey, looky here, who we got? Is that Boudreaux?
Look how big he is.
I see that. Holy mackerel!
Boudreaux Campbell.
He's growed up.
He's a full-size dog. He's got big old tushies now. Look at them teeth.
I see him. He's got big old ears. You definitely see that part of I guess that's a hound.
He goes out in the alfalfa pasture, and we got some ground squirrels and voles and gophers living out there in the pasture, and he digs them up. And he'll spend all day digging them up, and I cannot call him off.
Wow.
He does not come home when he gets called if he's digging up gophers.
I wonder if he'd run a rabbit.
I think so, but he's going to be silent if he does. But yeah, he's funny. I sent you video. I think I sent you video of him chasing that bull moose out of the alfalfa,
No, I
which
don't know if you did or not. That'd be.
which was hilarious because the alfalfa was about knee deep, and so you couldn't see him except when he was bouncing as he was running.
So he could see where he was
And
going.
you just see him every now and again, and that bull moose was running for his life, and that little tiny dog behind him, like, get out of here. Now, he was barking then, but
Does he sound what does he sound like? I mean,
just like a border collie bark or something. I mean, nothing special.
yeah. Does Hank, does he bark much, or is he mostly a?
Oh yeah, if he's working, he's barking.
Okay. Man,
Yeah.
I saw some great videos the other day of people working sheep with dogs. These were from Ireland or Scotland, and man, those dogs could, golly, they can do stuff.
And
with
they
those.
just got those couple whistle commands, and
Yeah.
golly, that's the coolest thing ever. But I've got voice commands for Hank, and I just tell him either to come by me, and he'll bring whatever we're herding, he'll bring it to me, or I'll tell him away, and he'll push him the other direction. And then I tell him to let him eat, and he'll stop aggravating them at all. If we get to like a gate and I want to slow down and let them go through there slow, I can just tell him to let them eat, and then they can just choose their own time to go through the gate, and
Oh, okay,
they don't get tangled in the fence or something,
right. Yeah, they're amazing, and Tina's talking about her hounds. But Ian, I never did. Is he still in here? I wonder if he had to. Maybe he's working. I still like to know what he was doing down on the Navajo reservations. If he was just visiting, or. And I'll take that off the screen for now. Tina said, "Face like her pups, not their legs though." Yes, yeah, her hounds have got longer legs.
Yeah, her Boudreaux's legs are about that long. There's Ian.
Oh, hey, Ian, I was asking you about your trips to the Navajo reservations. Right here, you said something about
some Lakota dances
you
too.
saw some dances. I just wondered if you were just down there visiting, or if you were down there. Well,
eighth grade mission trip.
Oh, okay. Hey, you might have told me that before, actually. That's cool. Who said? Shelley said, I saw the Scottish sheep herders at the Irish. Oh, yeah. I like Highland cows.
Shelley, you need I got a neighbor up the creek here that's got, I don't know, 8 or 10 of those. And they're just cool cattle. They're just cool cattle.
There's a lady.
I don't know what they're good for, but they're really cool cattle.
Shelley, I don't know if you know this person or not. There's a gal on Instagram and Facebook, and she goes by the name Natty Dread, or it might be Natty D Red. I'm not sure, but she's a Scottish singer, and I'm not sure if she was doing shows over there before COVID, but during COVID, she did a lot of stuff online, and she's got a pretty heavy brogue or accent, but she's got a bunch of those. When she says cow, it sounds like coos. So she's got coos. That's me coos back there. So people have sent her stuffed animals, stuffed long haired, those kind of cattle. I can't think of what they're called.
Highland cattle, Scottish Highland.
Yeah, Highland cattle. And so she's got a bunch of them. That's kind of become a symbol. Check her out sometime, though. She's got some some interesting music. I mean, she sings a lot of the traditional stuff, but she writes some songs too. She's pretty good. Ian said, a Navajo lady. Whoops.
That sounds like you're getting ready to tell a joke, Ian. A Navajo lady married a Lakota man, and they walked into a bar.
Where they met a Jew, a Catholic,
Where
and
they
a Protestant.
met an Ashkenazi Jew and
Orthodox Catholic and a East Tennessee evangelical
and an Irishman.
and an Irishman.
There's got to be an Irishman.
Got to be an Irishman in there too. And they're
Kelly says they're bred for meat, but not hers if she gets one. But if you get cows, you can never have just one. You got to have at least two. They got to have a buddy.
Yeah, you got to have two. That's right.
And Bill.
What does that got to do? I'm missing something there. What's he? I missed something. What's
He's
he
going
saying?
into the bar. He went into the bar with the Irishman and the
Oh. Well, we got a good story going. That's for sure.
Oh my gosh.
I can't wait to hear the ending.
This is one of the first ones where my ribs have hurt.
Hey, buddy. What's the matter?
Of course, I got bucked off my horse yesterday, so that's probably the reason why.
Oh, that probably didn't do you much good, did it?
I'm just kidding. Yes, 2 or 6. That's correct, Shelley.
Yeah.
I have about 25 head I'm looking at right now on me right now, and none of them belong to me, but they're on me anyway.
Oh, they have miniature islands now. I didn't know that. I haven't seen any of those.
Now that would be, I would like to get 3 or 4 of those for my grandkids.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. I watched it. Anasazi.
No, not Anasazi.
That's not right, is it, Brenda?
It's not. I'm gonna find out.
Anasazi is was early native Pueblo dwellers. I thought, kind of like early Navajos.
That's what. No, they weren't Navajos. They were the
Well,
ones.
no, but they lived in that country before the Navajos that are there now, didn't they?
Yeah, they lived they went to the cliffs because of the Navajos.
And Tina said they'd keep the grass down too. And now Brenda's admitting the wrongness of her way, and she'll get it right here in a minute. I promise you. Just because I can't say it.
Golly, it's Ashkenazi or
That's Ashkenazi. That's it.
I can't find it though.
If you ever watch Dr. Pol, if any of you are Dr. Pol fans or know who I'm talking about on TV, on Animal Planet or wherever he's on, there's a show where he was having to doctor a bull Highland bull, and the old boy I can't remember what he was having to do to him. Oh, they were putting a ring in his nose for one thing, because I think it was an Amish gentleman that might have had him. Anyway, he was having a hard time getting him to do anything he wanted him to do. So Ashkenazi.
There, Ian, that's right. Ashkenazi. Pretty close to
Brenda
pretty
says,
close to Anasazi.
do what?
Pretty close to
Yeah,
Anasazi,
pretty close. Maybe more related than we know.
which were the people that took to they lived out in the valleys, and then when the Apachean folks showed up from the north, they moved to the cliffs to protect themselves.
Shelley, to my knowledge,
Maybe.
he is still there. And he's in his 70s now, and I think he's still making new shows. So he's still working.
He is. He's still. We watch him all the time. He's still making shows.
He's still in mid Michigan. I found it on a map one time. He's pretty much kind of in the middle of the lower part. Which one? I guess that's the Mitten, isn't it? The lower Michigan. Of course, somebody used to say the upper part was too, but it's kind of a funny looking mitten. It
So
might be more like a glove.
he lives right on there's a town right in the middle of a Ojibwe little small Ojibwe reservation. That's where he lives.
Oh, really?
And I think it's an Ojibwe reservation. Anyway, it's right there. It's in the eastern part of the southern southern peninsula.
I like what Shelley said. She said, "Yep, the Mitten is lower Earth." I'd like to get more information about that, Shelley. We really need to talk sometime, I think.
It's not Middle Earth, it's Lower Earth.
Yeah. The
Upper Earth.
sideways mid is upper. Okay. I never thought about that upper part being a mitten until somebody started pointing it out to me one time. Oh, yeah, it's close enough. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, you've as the car guys used to say, you've once again wasted 2 good hours with sitting here listening to me and Mark talk.
Oh, I missed those two.
Do what?
I missed those guys.
Yeah. Well, they still play down here a lot. They just rerun the shows, and they're still.
So those guys, Gary Larson and Pat McManus, I miss them all.
Yeah. Those are losses for sure. So anyway, I'm going to start winding down here. Thanks everybody for your.
Man, you really wasted this couple hours.
No, this was good. I needed this couple hours to talk about Spook, but move on. I gotta,
Your wife said it best, buddy. Just move on down the road.
Yeah, and,
you'll see him again by and by.
Hey, well, thank you, Shelley, for coming in. I'm always glad to see you here. It's been a while, so you're always welcome. Thank you, Tina. I appreciate that. We all love to hear about the hounds, so we never know if you're doing macrame or if you're just chasing, or maybe they're wound up in your your phone cord or something. I think I've seen that happen a time or two years back when phones had cords. There's always something happening to the phone.
And they were avocado color and hung on an pumpkin orange kitchen wall.
Right by the basement door.
Right by the basement door.
What was that story you were telling me about? You told me a story one day. I laughed my butt off about going down the stairs or coming up the stairs.
You wrote it down because we don't remember this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's probably in my notebook.
You put it in your notebook.
That's right. I did. You're absolutely right.
It was something about the avocado phone and the pumpkin orange walls and my mom's kitchen and.
Imagine.
My dad like, hey, you got a phone call and somebody calling me, and I went down the stairs and was talking to whoever, and he ate all the morel mushrooms while I was on the phone.
Oh no, that's not fair.
That I had found.
That's terrible. He used to hide the York peppermint patties.
New York peppermint patties, but we would find them occasionally.
We would find them. Yeah. He thought he was hiding them. York peppermint patties were a thing when we go out. I'm telling you. Oh, Brenda didn't move the Zoanthus far enough. You're gonna have to put them up on a rock, babe. They're just gonna. He's gonna keep getting them. All right, guys. Again, thank you all for being here. See you next week, and we'll have. I'll try to have something a little bit more, somewhat more structured to talk about in it, and it be a happier day. It's going to be a good thing, and who knows what we'll have? Who knows what we'll find to talk about by next week? If Mark and I talk any during the week, you never know what might come up. So,
we could talk about making moccasins.
we could, if you were willing to demonstrate.
I got to put new soles on next. Let's see, when is next?
Have a good rest of the day. I hope he gets feeling better. And I don't know if Diane's still here. I hope Mike's feeling better. I think he said, "Oh, there he is." Yeah, I hope you're feeling better, Mike. And
I think I'm going to be in rural Appalachia next weekend. So.
Oh, are you?
Well, we're flying back for the Marine Corps birthday we're leaving on the 9th. So I won't be here next weekend.
Oh, okay.
Because I'll be in the holler and there ain't no
There's
internet.
no internet in the holler. I know that well. How well I do.
Yeah.
You have a safe trip back. And what day is that? I mean, the birthday this year, do you know?
Well, it's always on the 10th.
Yeah, but you don't know what day that is.
I think it's Thursday.
I'm fixing to find that. Whoops, there it went. It's always the 10th of November. I apologize. I thought it was that's a Thursday. Huh, I didn't realize that was the same time. This is all like Veterans Day and all those days this month too.
So we're going, we're my buddy David Stanley's going to come up and
okay.
And his dad was served with Dad, and so we're gonna all go to the ball on Thursday, and then I think we fly back home on Monday.
Okay, well, have safe travels and
short trip, but there you go.
There you go. Well, that's how it goes sometimes.
Need to keep going.
Yeah, you do.
Dad'll be the oldest Marine this year, so.
Oh, will he?
Yep, he'll get to cut the cake. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, tell him I said hello and happy birthday. And
okay. I will do so.
And of course, your mother, wonderful mother too. We don't get to see them near enough, so
we'll probably call you when we're back there.
Okay.
All right.
All right, brother. You take care. Everybody else, hopefully I'll see you next week. But good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise, we'll be back. And if the creek rise, well, hell, we may just join them. We may just ride along.
Yeah, it's not a water body. It's a people.
It's a people. That's right. In case you don't know, it ain't water. It's people. All right, guys. See you later. Yeah, get out and vote, like Mike said. Bye-bye.